Adventures. Welcome to my garage. We're going to be taking this truck and turning it into a camper. I've seen some videos online for people who've done this where their truck has a topper, but this truck has a tonneau cover. If you have this style of topper, what I'm thinking about doing is making a kind of a tent cover for it that goes over the top of the lid, goes down, covers the tailgate, and lets me sit inside of there. And then inside of the bed, I plan to build an actual sleeping bed on the left side here, It'll be about this wide and should get me just above the wheel well. I'll have my feet at that end, and I'll be able to sit at this end, and even when I'm enclosed, I think I should be able to sit up in this area. So I'm going to film myself making this little camper. So the first thing I've done is I just sort of rigged up a platform with some scrap pieces. I'm going to use the wheel well as part of the support. I'm going to build some supports on this side to hold a piece of plywood for the bed. But I am going to use the wheel well, so I need it to be, that's the height I need everything to be. I measured the distance between the bottom of that 2x4 and the higher part of the ribbing in the bed of the truck. So that's 10.5 inches. I think what I'm going to do is cut everything a little bit too long on purpose, and then I'll set things up and use the level to see if everything's level, and I'll start to kind of trim and shape things down to size as I go. First thing I'm going to build is 2 supports. These will just be 2x4s. Just to shoot a little high, I'm going to make it a total of 11 inches in height. There's a 2x4 at the top right here, so that'll take off 1.5 inches. So 11 minus 1.5 inches will be 9.5 inches for this board. And then this will be 33 across. That'll accommodate my 30-inch mattress, plus 2x4s on the sides. 2 2x4s on the sides, adding 3 inches. So I need 2 of these. I'm going to have one just right here at the end of the truck, and one all the way at the front of the truck. And I'll have a little bit different support over here on the outside. So I've marked my 9.5-inch cuts. I went ahead and marked one on both ends of the board. So I'm going to go over to the saw and make 2 cuts. There's my legs. And there's my tops. So these will just kind of go like this. Be one at both ends of the bed. So it's kind of hot out. I'm going to take this operation inside and do some fastening and gluing, and then I'll come back for some more cutting out here. Okay, so I've set these up. I've got my 2 structures. I decided to go with just 2-inch screws. You can see they only go a little ways into the board, but I'm also going to be using some wood glue, and the weight's going to be coming down this way. I'll be laying on top of this, so it just pushes down on it. So this isn't really necessary as a support. So 2-inch screws should be fine. Alright, that looks pretty good. Not perfectly square, but that's alright. I'm not using clamps, so it's not going to be perfect, but I don't think it needs to be. So, put on the next piece. Okay, I think I lucked out a little bit since I went a little high on the measurements. This is kind of what the frame's going to look like. Here's the 2 pieces I just made, that one and the one down there. And I just measured, there is a gap here. It's actually almost an inch gap. And what I'm planning to do is have a piece of plywood lay across this all the way to the other side, but I do want it touching that. So I don't want that to be lower than the rest of the bed. So I'm going to take, I measured an inch. I'm going to take just a 1/2 inch off of all these legs and check again and see how close I think I am. Okay, after taking 1/2 inch off of all of the legs, I've decided I better label these things so that I can trim each side specifically. So this is passenger side back, driver's side back. I've marked driver's side front. I can't reach passenger side front, but it's the only one that's unlabeled, so I know which one it is. The gap's down to 1/4 inch. So at this point, I've checked the level, and this guy is just a little bit taller than all the rest. So I'm going to take 1/4 inch off of everything, and I'm going to take just a little bit more off of this one. And it should be perfect. I've trimmed up this piece. Show you that there's a kind of a ridge here on the truck bed that was just blocking it. I couldn't connect these things, so I had to cut it off a little short. And then this one over here I cut just to where I can close the tailgate without interfering with that. Aside from that, I've marked all my pieces. I put lines where everything connects. So I'm going to remove this and take it indoors and assemble the top frames. These are still detached, and so that'll just be a little drilling, wood glue, and screws. All right, back indoors, I've reassembled this frame in my basement, and in order to attach these things, I cut out some triangles. Those will go just in these corners right there. Okay, and this is the bed frame all put together. It's exactly as it was in the truck, just assembled. It's just completely solid now. And the last step, so I just want to show that this is going to hold the board that's the bed that's the mattress is going to sit on, and then that board is going to lay on top of this. The wheel well is going to be here, so I don't really have anything on this side holding it up, so I'm going to add a lip along here of just another 2x4 and a couple more feet, and that should just give it some stability and hold up the mattress solidly. Okay, I've assembled the lip that I was talking about that I'm adding to the one side, and here's the completed bed, all glued and screwed and everything. So I'll cut the plywood tomorrow. I'll show that, and we'll put it back in the truck. Here is the bed in the truck bed. I've cut the piece of plywood to fit. It's a little bit warped, so I think I'm going to put some a sandbag at both ends, just to hold it down and kind of mold it to the right shape over time. But I laid in it and it works out pretty well. I can also sit right here, and my head clears the ceiling. But I've also started, so I received my fabric, which is from, I believe this is Hex 70 from Ripstop by the Roll. This was the widest waterproof sheet that they have, and it's wide enough to actually fit all the way across the truck top. What I thought about doing was, I think instead of trying to measure everything, because all these angles are going to be hard to do, I think what I'm going to do is just try to build it right on the truck. Like I'm actually going to just, what I've done is I've laid it out, you probably can't see very well, but it hangs down to about here, and I'm going to just make it come all the way around kind of this edge of the truck. The fabric's going to go around the tailgate, and I'll just have some straps to kind of hook it to the bottom. So what I'm going to do is just put some marks here and up at this top corner, and probably maybe just down past the tailgate a little bit. I'm going to put these marks, and these will be where I will either cut or sew. These will be cut or sew points. So what I'm going to do is sew a panel from this corner, this mark, down to this mark, and then I'm going to bring it back out here and hang it up. And I'm going to, that panel, once it's attached, I'll be able to draw a line of where I want to sew that to this. And I'll also be able to draw a line of where I want to sew it to this. And I'll give myself maybe a 1/2 inch seam allowance on everything. I'm going to cut this edge off anyway, so I'm just going to put the mark right here. There's a small section of the fabric that's all kind of beat up, part of the manufacturing process, so I'm going to cut that off. And over here, I'm going to mark on this crease. And same thing up here, I'm going to mark it just like right there. Alright, I'm also going to have to cut somewhere, so I need to make a decision about that. So what I can do here is put a pole in to sort of hold this stretched a little bit and give me a little weight on the bottom. I want to give myself plenty of extra here, but let's just say I'm just going to mark this like right here. And I'll mark approximately the same place on this side. Okay. The trickiest part is just sort of managing all this fabric. Wonder if we can do some good ASMR here. Is that satisfying? Anyway. Okay, so this is the truck end. So then there would have been, the next line would have been at the top of the lid, which is this. And then the next line would be my cut point. I think what I'm going to do now is take the piece I cut off and find the halfway point and cut it in half, so I just have two panels. Alright, it's been a while since I've tried sewing, so I'm going to do a little practice stitch and show the stitch I'm going to use for connecting these two pieces of fabric. Crooked, but that's all right. So the first step, and I didn't really pay attention, but by dumb luck I sewed it correctly. So I've got the shiny sides together. I've got the what's going to be the inside is together and the outside facing out. Some people call it a French seam with a top stitch. Some people call it a modified flat-filled seam. I'm not exactly sure, but basically you do one stitch and then you open it. And this little piece here, what you're going to do is try to sew it in a way to where it's on the inside and it's tucked inside of your new stitch. So I'm going to run a stitch right along here to do that. So now, if I did it right. Looks like I did. I don't have any of the other piece sticking through. I don't know if you can see that it's tucked in there, but so this is what it looks like. And then the last step of this stitch is when you pull it, it just kind of sticks up. So this is your French seam. And you just fold it over and and you can do it either direction. But then you would put a stitch down the side of it. And so on one side you've got 2 lines of thread, and on the other side you've got 1 line of thread and kind of a hidden line of thread. And this is supposed to be durable and pretty waterproof. All right, now I've got to wrangle some fabric and do this for real. Okay, so at this point I've sewn on my 2 panels with my first stitch. I have not done the full flat felled seam yet, or whatever it's called, the French seam. First I want to just kind of show this, this material has a kind of a rough edge, which is where I sewed it, and I'm going to cut a good chunk of that off. I want just like maybe a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch material sticking out, and then I'll fold it over and sew the other part, but I just want to reduce the amount of this edge a little bit so I don't have these little furry things sticking through my stitches. This is the reverse of that seam. So I've turned it inside out, and now I'm just going to, here, maybe you can see the other material when you look through. You can see where it's wider. So I'll be putting my seam down just to the side of that. Okay, that looks good on the other side. All right, I'm just gonna keep running this through, kind of resetting everything. My needle just broke on me. I put on a new needle, and I decided to go with the Microtex, which is the little bit smaller needles. Those are, I don't know, I have mixed results with those. If you're using a particularly thin fabric, like sil nylon or sil poly, you probably want to use a really thin needle like that. This fabric's a little thicker, and I think I'm going to go back to the universal needle, which is the, what size is that? 90/14. I was using one of these 70/10 ones. I don't really know what you're supposed to do when the needle breaks. I'm just going to backtrack on the line and try to kind of cross over it once. Well, for better or worse, I've got my 2 stitches in. This is what one side looks like. And I have a nice edge on the outside that will have 1 stitch in it. I'm gonna go put it back on the truck and take some measurements and maybe draw some more cut points. Well, first off, this is a look of what it kind of will look like inside my truck camper. I don't have this fabric is not pulled tight right now, but it's on the truck. The tailgate's sticking out. The seam I did is right along here. I'm kind of rethinking this now that I see the French seam the way it is. What a lot of people do is they go ahead and put another stitch in to just hold it down. That flaps on the inside, flapping around. I don't see how it's going to hurt anything. I'll go ahead and seam seal this. I don't see the point of putting another piece of thread in there and poking more holes. And I don't like sewing anyway, so so I think it'll be just as good. My next step here is this fabric behind the truck goes down to about right here. So I need to make some decisions about where I'm going to cut this fabric. I'm definitely going to put a line, and I need to just sort of connect down here, so there'll be one more stitch. From there on over that way, I don't need, I'll probably just draw a line across this material. I want it to go below the tailgate at this end, but I don't really need it to be below the wheel well. In fact, I might want to use the wheel well as a place to hook on. So yeah, I'm going to kind of draw a line across this thing, and I'll just do the same thing to the other side. I just marked 2 points. I marked an angle there. I'm just going to draw a straight line up to this corner and cut it, and then I'm gonna draw a straight line over to this other end, and I've measured this bit of fabric to be just a little bit lower the tailgate. Well, I don't know how well this will show up, but my top finger's on the tailgate, and I gave a little space so I'd have some extra material to go below the tailgate. And I'm gonna draw a line straight across and cut it. Well, here it is back on the truck. I've got my stitches in on this direction and this direction. I need to next, I want to connect this panel to this panel on both sides. I think the best way to do that is going to be to pin it. And I'll just put pins and connect it all the way down to the end. Okay, stuck one of those pins right in my lip. Now I'm just going to do the other side. Okay, back at the sewing machine, I've sort of just positioned the fabric so that I've got my line of pins here, and I've got the other one just right behind it, so I don't have them flopping around picking at the other fabric. And I'm just going to run these through, stitch them, and then I'll flip it inside out and do the French seam. Okay, finished sewing it. I'm going to see if it fits. There was some crazy stuff that happened while I was sewing. Things were, the material just kept moving around on the bottom, and I tried my best to keep things in place, but I hope it fits. Getting hung up on something on that. Not my best work ever. A little bajankety there in the seam, but it fits, and that's the important thing. So the next step is going to be to just trim up the bottom and do a rolled hem. And then after that, I'll put some straps on. I may put a door on. I might just do a zipper right down the middle. Something like that. I don't know. We'll see. So I just watched a video on how to use a rolled hem foot to do a rolled hem, and I've decided not to use a rolled hem foot. I've done it before just manually, and it looks like it's pretty easy to have the rolled hem foot mess up on you, so I don't know. I'm just gonna do this the old-fashioned way. All I'm really doing is I'm on the wrong side of the fabric, and I'm folding it in on itself, and I'm going to stitch through, so the top stitch will be on the inside and the bottom stitch will be on the outside. So the idea is that this side with the kind of the lip is going to be on the inside, so that way rain will just flow down the side of the fabric. All right, so I'm gonna start, and this, I gotta go all the way around this entire tarp. So this is gonna take a while. Stop right there. And my experience, this is usually pretty easy just to kind of keep feeding. You just gotta kind of pull it tight against the edge here, and then it'll run through flat. I have a couple places on this rolled hem where I have to turn a corner. I just thought I'd show how I do that. When I reach the corner, I just want to go ahead and roll the next edge over once and twice, just like that. And I just want to get the needle to poke into that double layer spot and hold it, and then I'll turn everything. Okay. Yeah. I'm right on the edge. I didn't mean to go quite that far, but I'm gonna have to live with it. Back in the garage and just testing things out again. It's interesting. On camera, the material seems more see-through than it does in real life. It's a little more opaque to my eyes than what I'm seeing on the screen here. Anyway, it's fitting pretty good. What I've see the rolled hem here, and I've just put some marks there. I'm gonna make some little stretchy shock cord connections, just hooks to connect to the bottom of the truck. I'm gonna put one there, and I've got these two clamps just for weight to kind of stretch this thing out so I can see. But where the clamps are where I'm gonna put two more tabs to pull down and stretch it, and then one more over here by the gas tank. Bonus, this will maybe prevent people from getting into my siphoning my gas. I've never had a problem with that, but the door there will be blocked. So I'm gonna make these pull tabs. I've got this black, what do you call it? Like a grosgrain tape. This is 1 inch. And I think I'm going to do about 4-inch tabs. I'm going to do 8 inches total, which will be 4 inches doubled over, but really 3 inches of usable material, I think. Okay, and this stuff is just a little shaggy at the ends. You want to do this in a ventilated area, just kind of burn off the hairs at the ends, and I'll kind of seal the edge with it kind of melts the end and seals the edge. And now I'm going to go back to the sewing machine and put these on. I've marked with a pen where I want this to go on. I'm just gonna sort of lay it. Yeah, kind of like that. And for I don't know what it's called. I just call it a box stitch. There's a few different routes you can take, but you have to do it in a way where you kind of end up where you started. This should be a very strong stitch. All right, that's it. I'm gonna do 3 more. I found these hooks and I had some shock cord, and so I've just taken the shock cord and made a loop, tied a real simple knot in the end. This is easy to adjust if I want to make it tighter or looser, and I just hook it to the bottom of the truck. Real similar. So I've got another bungee at this end. And here's the other side with a little bit better lighting. So I've taken the zipper that I have, the coil zipper, and just lined it up. And as carefully as I could, I drew with permanent marker my cut line. So that's where the door is going to be. I'm just going to do a vertical zipper right down the middle. And I'm going to take it in to work on that. So I'm set back up for cutting. I've drawn my line as straight as I could, and I need to stop. Over there at the end of the table, I have a section I didn't draw all the way down, but my cutting board has lines on it, so I was able to line it up. I can see where to cut. So I'm just going to cut as straight as I can down this thing. It's scary cutting things so far into the project. It's like, did I just ruin this whole thing? I'm going to cut the zipper to length. I'm going to give myself a little excess, but this way I won't have to deal with the entire strip. I'm just going to cut it with my same cutting tool. Oh, let's see if that works. Pretty good. All right, sewing zippers. I already put one on. I put the harder one on. I should have actually shown you that because I had to feed most of the material through this little window here, which was crazy. All right, so the zipper has a right side and a wrong side. It's hard to see probably because this is black, but the right side, the zipper is exposed and I can see it. And on the wrong side, the cloth covers the zipper, and that's where it's actually stitched on. And you want to do the right sides together. So right side is facing up on the fabric. So I'm taking this is my right side. I'm going to turn it this way. And so I put it edge to edge on the fabric. And the idea is, if I can kind of show, is that once it's stitched, you'll be able to fold it back like that, and it will look nice and just have the teeth exposed. And I have the zipper foot on, which just helps position the needle pretty straightly. The foot kind of rubs along the edge of the zipper and keeps everything lined up. I gotta tell you, it's getting late. Sunday night, weekend's almost over. I just wish this project was over. So I'm kind of burning the midnight oil to try to finish it. Kind of in a hurry because I've got a camping trip planned for this weekend and I'd like to test this thing out. Be a little car camping, which I don't normally do, and that's exactly what this is for, so good timing if I can work it out. Oh, so I was going to show the zipper. Now you can see that now that I've peeled it back, it just has a nicer looking seam. So I'm just going to put another stitch in to lock it down, and that will be the zipper. And then we'll have to put some other kind of facilitating things around the zipper to prevent your tabs from coming off. Moment of truth. Got my zipper pull tabs. I just happen to have 2 left over from a previous project, and that's exactly what I want. I want to do a double zipper so that I can, I think it'll let me have ventilation at the top. So there we go. At the very end of the zipper, I just sewed on a little piece of material. I didn't film it, but it's just a little patch of material. I folded it back so it would have a nice edge and just stitched it right on both sides. It's not the prettiest thing, but it basically just blocks the zipper from going down further, and that way I didn't have to add any hardware to the zipper. Real similar patch up there at the top, sewn on. Alright, here it is all put together. I added the zipper door down the middle. It's a 2-way zipper. I can unzip it from the top down or from the bottom up. So I can have it half open, which I think is going to be how I use it. This way I can have just a little block for a little bit of privacy if I'm sleeping, but I can still have it open for air. I can always zip it up or pull that top zipper down to ventilate a little bit. I just got my mattress, so I'm going to get that out and check that out and show that next. I don't quite know what to expect here. I got this mattress off of Amazon. It's just a foam mattress. It's from Go-To Foam. They have a whole variety of lengths and widths. I got hopefully it fits exactly what I need. 30 inches by 72 inches by, I think this was a 4-inch one. And they have different firmness levels. This one's just firm. It's the type of foam is for upholstery, I guess. Gotta figure out where this starts, I guess. Okay, there we go. And before I put it on, I also got a mattress cover. This is not an exact fit, but it's close. Seems to fit just fine. Tight fit. Alright, I guess that's it. I'm going to climb in there and kind of smash it down. I'll put some blankets in here and a sleeping bag and pillow and be all set and cozy for sleeping. Plan is to take it out tomorrow for just a test run. For seam sealing, I'm going to use this Seam Grip WP. This is good for polyurethane coatings. Depending on the material you might be using, you might want to use a different sealant. Like Sil Poly, for example, you'll want a silicone-based sealant. I'm soaking this in warm water. They recommend you use this all up at once, but it was a huge tube. So the internet says you can freeze it, and that's what I've done. I used this on a previous project, so it's sitting in warm water, softening back up, and I'm gonna see if it still works. Hopefully it does. What I'm trying to do here is I'm gonna seam seal this. I need to kind of prop it up. I don't really want to do this on the truck because I think the sealant would soak through the material a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully this works. To apply the seal, I'm just taking the tube and squeezing it along the seam. It has a consistency similar to petroleum jelly, and then I'm just taking a small brush and kind of smearing it down to flatten it. Mostly I'm just squirting it on with the tube, but it's very kind of gloppy, so I use the brush to just sort of even everything out, and it's pretty easy to work with. This stuff is extremely sticky. I do recommend you wear gloves. I did not wear gloves, and I was picking this stuff off of my hands all day. It says the cure time is 8 to 12 hours. For me, it seemed like it was done at about 8 hours, but I left it out a little bit longer. Once the seam seal is cured, this particular seam seal is still pretty sticky, and it sticks to itself. The material would, if I pushed it up against itself, it would stick. And so this is an optional last step, but I just took I have this bag of chalk that I use for pool, for chalking your hands, and I just kind of took it and patted it along the sticky seam and just kind of brushed the dust along, and it's no longer sticky. And this way I can fold this up without it all sticking to itself. That's the last step for building this little pickup truck tent camper. Hopefully somebody out there will find this useful if you have a similar style of truck. Let me know in the comments if you like this type of video. I've made other gear, including the hot tent and stove from video 5 when I was snowshoe backpacking. Also, the hammock setup that I use is homemade. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. My next video will include a trip with this truck camper and 5 days of backpacking in Colorado. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you on the next one.